What's up, y'all? It's Sarah Kate here with Billy Scott with Billy Scott Real Estate. We're back for another podcast episode. Today we're going to be doing a national market update. As I kind of mentioned in our last podcast, that was before we left to go to Vegas for Keller Williams Family Reunion. And we have some awesome content and stats that we're excited to share with people. That literally, I would say majority of people don't see. Like, I never saw anything like this really before I came to Keller Williams.
Yeah.
Or I guess real estate in general too. So we're excited to talk about it. But I just wanted to kick off with how was Vegas and what were some takeaways that you had, and yeah.
Well, good question. Vegas overall, I would say something that just popped in my mind was getting locked out of hotel rooms. That's always a pain at 3 a.m. Sarah,
I was sound asleep, baby.
But when your roommates lock the door and you can't get in with your own keys, it created some conflict.
There was one room open. You could have gone to bed still.
Yeah.
I woke up to a text from Billy like, this is what's so funny about you is like, even at like 3 a.m, like you think that you would be like pissed off, but he's still like so nice in his text. He's like, just like wondering if you happen to be awake.
Can you unlock
the door? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That was so funny. I felt so bad. Oh my gosh.
Well, I need to plan better. That's what we learned there.
You know how it is though? Like you go in a room and then it's like, you just have it. Like, or you go in your house and you just like lock the door. I don't know. It's like, I didn't even remember locking it. But Billy sure found out it was locked real quick.
Yep. It was our last night, so it's like, all right, it's going to be a late one. Let's do some gambling. Next thing you know, I'm laying on the carpet outside the hotel room like, that bed 20 feet away on the other side of the wall sounds real good right now.
Yeah. I mean, on a high note, I guess, you learned how to break into a hotel room. If you ever needed to, I guess.
Yeah. That was MacGyver stuff to watch, that's for sure.
That's crazy. Other than that, though, we had a really good time. Ate a lot of good food. Billy took me to a Brazilian steakhouse. I've never been to one. Oh, my gosh. Billy was right. His tip was like, don't go to the salad bar. Just don't. You just eat the meat. That's it. Yep. And I'm like, all right.
Yep. And did you get the meat sweats?
No, you did though. I was like, holy cow.
Well, I feel like if I go to Brazilian and I didn't leave with the meat sweats, I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
From one fat kid to another, they didn't make no money on me that day. I got the best of them.
Yeah, it was so good. Like, we had a really good time. I feel like, learned a lot, met a lot of people. Gosh, it was just so, I don't know. There's nothing like being at an event where there's just so many people that are all like-minded in the same industry, all just trying to make their way through life and do right by people. You just have thousands of people, from actually all over the world.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But what's something that you feel like really stuck out to you that you took away for your either personal growth or your business?
I think, like you mentioned, the networking opportunities when you go to these big conferences, there was approximately 7,000 or 8,000 people there that are all Keller Williams agents or operations, team leads, rainmakers, whatever they are. Like, they're all affiliated with KW. And when you've got the president, CEO of our company giving overall updates of the market, walking through the trends, walking through their experiences, market shifts, and you realize the people you're sitting in those rooms with are some of the best leaders in the industry. Yeah. It just makes you know, like, I belong here.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited for what's to come.
Yeah.
So, like, when we network and we meet people from around the world, or even if it's just all the different states that Keller Williams is all over the 50 states.
Yeah.
the connections that you make, and when you go to other trainings when they're going to be there, and the relationships that you build, and then they become referral partners, and then they can become partners where you can go lean on and say, hey, I remember when we were at Family Reunion, we were talking about this, and you guys overcame this situation with your team or your business. What are some things that we could learn from that so we don't have to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
And we can almost rip off and then duplicate, in a sense of like, we're not trying to start over. It's trying to make the best version of what we could do to develop and continue growing and continue expanding in the business and learn each and every day. So
that R&D method, man.
Yeah, it's true.
Don't reinvent the wheel. It's really true. It's funny when like I feel like we've started things even as simple as like our listing presentation or something, and I'm like, oh, I just start from a blank canvas, but it's like, no, like you don't have to just come up with everything. It's like make it your own, but it's all pretty much kind of the same stuff. But that's what I love about our industry too. And with Keller Williams, like everybody there just shares. Yeah. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to share with you what we're doing for this or whatever. And just so learning based and learning focused. Yep. It just makes it fun. Like everybody just like feeds off each other. Yep. I don't know. I had a really good time, and I agree. And we got to hear from Jamie Kern-Lima. Yeah. Isn't that it? Yeah. Yep. She was really, really inspiring. And gosh, yeah, I just, hit home on a lot of things she talked about with self-doubt and things like that, where we all have it, you know, and it really just gets in the way of us, you know, really moving forward. So, yeah. That one kind of hit home where it's like, I overall feel like a pretty confident person in my day-to-day life. Like, always been pretty happy-go-lucky. Yeah. But you still have those battles between your ears of like, man, am I good enough to be on that stage? Yeah. Am I good enough to be a part of this team? Yeah. Am I good enough to stick to this industry? Am I good enough to be that agent of choice for those clients? Like, all of those things run through our head, even when we're confident. But it's that, you know, the peaks and valleys of like the emotional roller coaster ride of believe in yourself, know your self-worth. But sometimes even the most confident people need to be reminded of it, of like, hey, remember where you've came. I know, like, I'm guilty that I set big goals and I have big expectations and aspirations to do big things. And when things don't happen quickly, I'm like, man, I'm just struggling. And it's like, my wife is usually the one that'll be like, Billy, take a step back. Yep. Look at your upbringing. Look at where you're headed. Look at where you were. Look at some of your trials and tribulations. And like, nobody talks about the success story. Like, the success doesn't happen from just being successful constantly. No. It's nobody wants to hear about that, and rarely does that really happen. Yeah. It's success comes from the downfalls, the struggles, the lessons learned, the failing forward, and then you make progress. Yeah. And then you have setbacks, and you continue making progress, and you push through, but you don't let up. Like, just because we get knocked down, we get back up. Yeah. And when we went to Mega Agent Camp in August in Texas, and then Family Reunion here in February, both big Keller Williams events, and you see all these roadmaps of how you want to help clients and you want to earn a good living. Everybody has the same goal. How can we help people? How can we pay it forward? And how can we make a good living at the same time and have a career that we love where we don't feel like going to work? Yep. If everybody's in the room, whether it's 8,000 people, they'd all have their hand raised, be like, okay, what's the roadmap to that? Yes. Well, we got to see 50 different roadmaps towards becoming successful, and the success doesn't just come from the dollars they made. Right. And as Dano would say, there's different ways to keep score. Yeah. So Dan Abbott always preached, like, some people it's just by what they make. Some people it's by how many people they can help. Yeah. Some people it's like the learning experiences that year and where they headed on the next one. Like, there's different ways to keep scoring. I think of the roadmaps that we constantly keep getting reminded of and shown in all these different trainings, from Jeff Glover summits to Keller Williams trainings. It's incredible to see there's so many different ways to reach the same end result. Yeah. But it comes down to like your inner grit, your inner work ethic. Like,
Are you going to push through when times get tough?
Yeah.
Are you going to dig a little deeper and try a little harder when times get tough?
Yeah.
Because I'll just be vulnerable here.
Yeah.
The last 4 months in real estate was my hardest 4 months of my first 2 years.
Yeah.
And people will probably like, well, why the last 4 months? Mm-hmm. Well, we've put 9 or 10 deals under contract during that 4 months. Mm-hmm. Guess what? Putting deals under contract doesn't get them to a closing table. Mm-mm. You've still got inspections. You've still got, appraisals. You've still got clear to close. You've got everything has to check out to get to that closing table. Buyers have to make sure that they're not overspending.
No, the work begins once it goes under contract, for sure. Like, it becomes a lot harder.
For sure. Yeah. And we've had a lot of deals fall out of contract because things aren't lining up or too many repairs were needed in the inspection addendum or financing problems with clients. Like, it happens on both sides of the table. It happens. Yeah. And the failure rate of deals falling out right now is extremely high. Mm-hmm. Like, I've heard numbers as high as 25 to 35%. So think about it. If you do 3 deals, one's going to fall out based on some of those numbers. Yeah. That's what it's feeling like right now. Yeah. And sometimes it's not anything to do with the agent. It's part of the process. It's part of the financing. It's part of the inspections. Like, buyers are being pickier. Sellers are holding their ground on higher prices. Like, there's lots of different caveats to it. So it's been humbling, though, because I had closed 3 deals a month for 8 months in a row in my second year in the industry. Mm-hmm. And then now this last 4 months has just been a grinder with way less deals and more deals falling apart. And you're going, man, okay, what can I do to learn from this one? How could I have avoided this? What could I have done differently here? Yeah. What can we do to be proactive when working with lenders and making sure that clients are pre-approved and there's no hiccups right at the end, right before the clear to close? Like, there's so many different factors. And so we continue to push ourselves to be better. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm excited. I love this stinking industry, and it's the opportunities to help people make big financial decisions and their investments, whether it's their first-time home buyer or it's their secondary home or investment. Like, I love it. Like, big or small, I love it.
Every deal, you learn something new. Every single one. I've heard that even from agents who've been in the industry 20 years. They're like, every single time I learn something. Yeah. And I love that. I think, I know, I get it. Like, sometimes I think people don't like hearing about, the hustle and the grind of real estate agents, like hearing it talked about that way. We're not trying to talk about it like it's just about numbers or income, but like, I have mad respect for people who are commission-based because there are so many factors that are actually out of your control of you getting paid. Yep. And that's why it kind of separates the men from the boys in a sense, because there's so many people who are like, that's not worth it.
Or women from the girls.
Sorry. Or whatever you are. I don't care. But you know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy. I don't know. I have a lot more respect for it now, being around agents and not just real estate agents and in any industry, and running your own business. I mean, it's a grind. It's different than just being an employee where like you show up and no matter what deals fall out or whatever, like I'm guaranteed a check, right? And it's not like that for you. And that's scary. Yeah. Like no matter what you say about it, like it's scary. And I think that's something that we really kind of went into family reunion training was like, what are the things and because Gary's talking about how we're in a skills-based market. Yep. This isn't just the COVID market where everybody's calling you and you just got to put together paperwork and call it good, right? This is like strategically learning how to negotiate. Offers are critical right now, like repair addendums, all of it, right? And it's why a lot of people are getting out of the industry. It's tough right now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let me hit on some of the stats that we talked about before. We talk about, the average agent, depending on where you're at in the country, is used to be about 7 deals a year. Now it's like 4 or 5 deals a year on average for the average agent. So 4 or 5 deals that an agent would sell is their average annual year.
Yeah.
So I don't sit here and say, hey, I just want to be ranked and looked at as average. Where do I meet up as average? I don't look at myself like that.
Yeah.
I'm confident in like, well, I'm not just average. Like I work way too darn hard for clients and put in too much effort to just be average and then compare my numbers to average. So I would expect more out of myself because I expect more out of me.
Yeah.
But when you think of those numbers, last year, like 60 to 65% of agents, right in that range, never sold a property.
Yeah.
So 2024 and 2023 has been the 2 years of constant shifting market from the peak of 21, 22. And it has been a grinder. It's been tough. Like it's been tough on wonderful agents who are 20, 30-year agents. And they're like, oh my gosh, where is the business?
Right.
There's a reason why a lot of agents are getting out of the industry.
Yeah.
But those that are still here, like kudos to each and every one of them because they're pushing through the storm.
Yeah.
They're facing it.
Yeah.
Like they're moving forward. They know they're in the right spot.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't help as many people as they wanted in the last couple of years. Maybe they didn't adjust accordingly how they're doing their marketing or their lead generation or maintaining their referrals and their client base. But we're all constantly learning and adjusting.
So true.
And trying to figure out what works, what can be continuous to manage more of a controllable business instead of just fly by night. Oh, I don't know. So called me. Oh, once in a while I got a referral. It's like, that's bonus business. That's not disciplined. I'm putting in the work. I'm making the calls. I'm making the connections. I'm being in front of people in the community. That's like being diligent and staying to the, to the grindstone. So when we think of those stats and then you think, all right, the top 10% of agents did 10 or 12 deals in the last year. So think about that for a second. If you sold 10 or 12 homes in 2024, most likely you're in the top 10%. That's big.
That's huge. Yeah.
So like, we go to these conferences and we hear some of these teams that are pushing out, 50 deals, 100 deals, 200 deals, 500
1,500
deals, 1,500 deals. But the thing is, it's not just the agent. They've got staffing, they've got leverage, they've got support,
got a team.
They've got team. And like they started small and they built up and they added and they added and they learned and they took 2 steps back and then 1 step forward. Like, it's constant growth and everybody wants the success overnight. And I get it. Like, I want to see results promptly. I want to see results quickly. But here's the reality. Nothing good happens overnight. Like, you've got to continue to be consistent and put in the work. And I love it because those conferences give me that motivation of like, oh my gosh, like as we build our team and we structure and we get systems in place to make sure that we're bringing on the right agents and the right, whether it's ISAs for sales reps or the right support, the right, all around leverage and staffing to have support services to continue to have agents stay in front of their clients, to know like, what we watch with Jeff Glover and what he's doing with his team is like...
Shout out to Jeff, Glover Agency, love them.
Right? They are leading the way in this industry they're in the trenches. As Jeff says, he's in the trenches every day. Like when he's teaching something that he learned from a listing appointment today, it's going on his morning message the next day. Like he is in the trenches wanting to adjust and correct and move forward. But he talks about the wins. He shares about his failures. He shares about what he would do differently next time. So we don't have to continue just reinventing this wheel. Like,
we can learn from someone else's experience. Right, instead of our own.
And apply it and learn from it and move on. So I don't know. These conferences, they get me all jacked up.
I know, same. I feel like the one thing that I loved was Gary talked a lot about the difference between like failing to success, like you were talking about, but something I didn't quite grasp. I think I've heard him talk about it before, but it was the part about everybody has a fear of being a failure. And I was like, oh, because I've always told people like, oh, I'm just so scared of failing. It's like, no. You're not scared of failing. You're scared of being a failure. And I know it sounds so like cliche and so simple, but I don't know. It just resonated with me different. Yeah. And it honestly kind of unlocked something for me where I was like, oh, well, we're all scared of being a failure. Nobody wants to be a failure. Like, that makes sense. Yep. But when he was talking about nobody becomes successful without failing, right? And failing, whatever you want to describe it as, making mistakes, errors, whatever. It just almost allowed freedom for me. Learning my role and stepping more into helping you more and helping our clients. It's like, hey, it's okay. You're not a failure just because you're making mistakes or there's some failing happening, right? Because it's not just about motivation; it's the determination when you don't have the motivation, right? Something I heard on Ed Milet's podcast. He talked about that. He's like, motivation isn't like, oh, I wake up every day just fully motivated to just like give it my all. Like, no, some days I woke up and I'm like, I don't feel it. Yeah. But the motivation comes in that feeling, right? To just keep going and you're determined, even if you don't have that motivation. That's just makes you feel good every day.
It's pushing through when there's those times that you just don't want to, even though you know, like, I need to do this for my business. Yeah. But I don't want to. Like, well, guess what? We could take all the distractions in the world. If we're looking for a distraction, we'll find it. Yeah. But like having that mental discipline of like, I know I got to do this. I got to put in the work here so that my ultimate big goal, my big why, like, is it to be able to put in my work and be disciplined here and not waste my time so that I can go home to my wife and my girls and go spend time with my grandson. Like, what is it? What's that driver that pushes us to go, why am I staying so disciplined? Why am I not throwing in the towel today? Why don't I just want to be like, well, I'll do it tomorrow? Like, no. If you've got big goals and you're setting big goals and not just real achievable goals. But if you're reaching for the stars, you've got to put in that work. Even when there's days where it's like, I just ain't feeling it, because I have them. I have them.
And you're like one of the happiest people every day, right? It's not like, you always talk about that. You're like, I wake up with a smile, but it doesn't mean that, like the last 4 months, like, I don't even think I realized like how hard those were on you, because you put your best self forward. Like, you're like, I want to bring good energy and positivity, but like also like, it's hard. Like, if it was easy, as everyone would say, everyone would do it. Right. And it's not.
Like, to add on that though, like, it's been a tough 4 months. But it motivates the heck out of me because it's like, these are things that I'm going to prepare to do differently next time as we head into next winter. Like, understanding this was my first year on my own. Like, my first year was on a team. My second year was on my own, where it's like, we're learning. Like, we're continuing to learn, and we're adjusting, and we're adapting or dying, like that kind of thing. So it's like, I want to take those moments and go, okay, well, I want to have more money in business checking for what if money when things don't go as planned, even though you've got closing scheduled, things are looking good. There was a lot that fell out that was just like, oh my gosh, that's gone. Well, when you're commission based, like you're saying, like, it's trying to balance that monthly overhead, monthly expenses at home, monthly expenses for your business. And I don't have a playbook for it. So it's like, we try to go in and we're like, all right, we can make it till spring without a problem. We'll keep paying bills and everything will be fine. But it's like, as you see your account deplete, like when deals slow down, you're like, oh my gosh, when I was averaging this, and then all of a sudden reality hits. It's a good thing though. We could look at it and just go, oh, poor me. Like, life sucks and life ain't fair. It ain't fair.
Because in the summer, I mean, we were helping so many people. It was awesome. And even in the fall and spring, like, it was like, and that it's not necessarily like, I don't know. The seasonality thing, I've always kind of tiptoed around because, like, I agree with it, but then I also think that seasonality can be a mindset for agents. That I don't agree with. Do I believe that? The pool of sellers and buyers kind of shrinks and expands. But you can still have a good business in the winter.
Totally.
Right? But we're just and this is part of why, like, we want to do the podcast, is because we're just small. We're just figuring it out. We're just starting. Like, we're not claiming to know everything. Like, I shared on like my Facebook page just to be vulnerable with everybody. Like, a lot of the things that get in the way of me making progress at work is just myself. Right. And yet when I look at my life, it's like, yeah, it's just me. And in every area of things I want to do better in, like, it's just me getting in the way. And, you know, I love my coach, Tracy. She, I
was hoping you'd talk about this.
I love Tracy. Tracy was my coach when I was the Market Center administrator for the Market Center. And I was telling her, I'm like, I'm just the problem, Tracy. I'm just the problem. Like, I'm not making progress. Stuff's getting messed up. Like, it's just me. Like, I could sit here and be like, oh my gosh, it's everybody else. But I'm like, it's just me. And
what'd Tracy say?
Yeah. She goes, I love her. She goes, you know what's so great about that, Sarah? She goes, you recognize that you're the problem. She goes, and the great thing about it is you're also the solution.
Bam.
And I was like just tears. Like my heart just kind of melted, you know. It's just like, you're right, you know, because a lot of times we just beat I don't know if everybody else is like this. I just beat myself up. Like it's kind of the same way you're talking about, like just being really hard on yourself, high expectations. Like, you know, I just want to do it perfectly. But knowing that not only do I have the power to fail, but I also have the power to succeed. Yep. Right. And fear and doubt usually is what gets in the way for me of really putting myself out there to help people and like believing that I can walk alongside people. Yep. Not saying that I know everything and that I can fix everybody, but especially in this industry, you know, sometimes like we'll go to appointments and, you know, you're talking more about the real estate stuff, right? Of talking about different things in the house and just that's your job. And I feel like my job when I show up is like, I just get to feel people. And I just get to see, like, I don't want to sound weird, but I kind of analyze, like, where are they at in their life? What are they really needing that's deeper than just, like, our real estate deal? Because a lot of times we're coming in and helping people in one of the most emotionally draining times in their lives. Yep. Even if it's for, like, an exciting move, it's still a lot. Yeah. When you have kids and you're working and like you got to get the house ready and you're trying to like life is still going on and you're doing this big thing that supports your life and you're moving it. Yep. Like it's a ton. And so, you know, I've just tried to think about that, like stop thinking so much about how, you know, oh, I'm still learning and I don't know all this stuff or, oh, I might mess up. And it's like, stop thinking so much about it. Yeah. Like start thinking about other people and how when you're at appointments, you can show up and figure out what do they need? Yep. How can I support them even in a different way than somebody else might not even notice? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of what I kind of really grasp from when we're at our trip and everything.
I'm glad you mentioned that. There was one last week you weren't able to make it. You were out sick, actually. So we need you on the
shout out KW Crud. Took me out.
But I went to this listing appointment and this gal was referred. Like I called, talked to her on the phone, sent her some stuff that we talked about, did everything we said we were going to do. Yeah. Set up the appointment for last week, set up the time. She was excited to see me. We had it all planned out. She's looking at selling her home to go help her mom up in just north of Portland area. Yeah. And she's got to just sell it, get it done by summer, and then move on to the next spot. Her mom's got dementia. So she opens the door. She says, Billy, okay, I just got to get it out there. Like, I can't tell you how high my anxiety is. Like, I am nervous and I'm like, okay, like, no worries. Let's just put all this to the side. Yep. Let's just chit chat and make sure that you know who I am, what I'm about, and I want to get to know you more. We can talk business later. Right. Like, and I feel like 5 to 10 minutes in, it was just like, can I get you some coffee? Like, come on in, take away. And it was, and I don't say that bragging. I say it as like, I know what you mean. It's a people industry. Yeah. Like, the stress of thinking about listing her home, and then there's going to be people that see her home and like, oh my gosh, what does she got to do to get ready? And it's like, I want clients to know, like, it's okay. Everybody's at different points in their lives. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. But you're going to be in good hands. We're going to walk with you, and we're going to be beside you, and we're going to lead, and we're going to, keep you informed along the way. Like sellers are the decision makers.
100%.
We come in with information, we come in with data, we come in with different market reports and suggestions and where we see, the home's value falling based on, today's market, where, what the market can bear and all that stuff. But outside of all that, the realist, like the emotional, you build that relationship with the client, whether and you learn more about where they're at in their life. What are their ultimate motivational goals? It's not just a transaction to us. Like an agent will come in here and be like, okay, well, I'm sorry about your anxiety. So here's what we'll do. We'll just go through it really quick.
I got 20 minutes.
Like, oh, that's going to help.
Yeah.
Like,
because then they don't feel seen.
It's like, just set it aside. Like, let's just get real and let's build each other's trust and figure out what's the real reason.
Yeah.
And it was just knowing that she didn't know me. I didn't know her. She's welcoming me into her home. And, I got to meet her boyfriend and, there's just all of it. But like, if you don't allow that relationship time to build and know that, oh my gosh, I feel like we're in good hands. Like, you're going to take good care of us. You're going to look out for us. You're going to keep us advised on what's coming in, what showings. Do we need to adjust our price? Have we sat here too long? Too many days on the market? Okay, it's time to adjust. We're losing activity. All those things. Like, that's what the agent needs to be doing proactively to keep you informed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just, when you have those moments, I look at it as like, man, I'm in the right spot. Like, I love it. Like, people have said it like, Billy, you really love this industry. It's like, I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
Like, I loved my last job. I worked at Knife 18 years.
Yeah.
And 8 of it was in the service industry. Like, I love it. It's rewarding. But we truly get to be a part of helping people through some of their toughest times, some of their best times, worst times. Like, we get to ride a roller coaster with them.
We do.
But in the end, when you can help them out and get them to the closing table and get them into that future property they've been looking for, or get out from under a home that they no longer could afford, or whatever it may be, like, when you can resonate with them and just show that you're real and you're going to walk beside them, people talk about what do you do different? Yeah. We people differently.
Well, I have a good example of that, actually. And we can cut this if you don't want to talk about it, but we have a listing. And I remember when we went to the listing appointment, and the sweetest elderly couple, and been married wasn't it I don't know, 50 plus years, just the sweetest. And literally they were like, we just need to sell this place to just have enough money to make it 10 more years. And as someone who's 24, right, the world is ahead of me. That rocked me. Yep. Like, I was like, imagine, because
we don't think
about
we're not at that point in our lives.
And unfortunately, one of the spouses passed away after we got them out of the house. And just, I think about that, when you go into homes and it's like, I didn't know that was the last time that I was going to see that person, but that was somebody's father and, grandfather. It's just, it rocks you. And what's crazy about it is that same house, now negotiating offers and stuff, but you got a text today about how the offer that we accepted was a family who's got 5 little kids, and they're living in an apartment.
800 square foot apartment.
800 square feet. And they got an accepted offer. And the agent texted you and said that, their client was crying. Yeah. And so it's just, those are the things to us that they mean so much more than just even as we're talking about the commission and everything and how difficult it can be, like, yes, we know. It's just part of running a business. Yeah. But so much deeper than a business. I mean, you can see these people were moving out just at the end of their life. And then you've got this other family who's coming in who's just starting. I mean, they're raising lives, right? So it's interesting to be a part of that, the cycle of life, and to be a part of it. And it makes you emotional because it's just, you care about people. And it's like, gosh, like,
that's part of the raw and the real. But Sarah, I think it's something that a lot of people, look at us on. People know that we care about people. Yeah. Like they know it's not just like, they have to. Well, no. There's a lot of people that don't. There's people that don't.
Because they don't want to sacrifice the professionalism for the relational aspect.
Yep.
But we kind of believe you can have both. And right now, we kind of sometimes err more on the side of the relational side. Yeah. Like Billy will have 2-hour listing appointments, which not that we need to spend less time with people, but it's like in order to be in front of more people and be with more people, right? It kind of means we have to be careful with our time, as with anything. But we just care about people. Sometimes it's not positive or negative. It's just the way it is.
If I heard you right.
Do not say I talk too much. I don't want to hear it. He always throws this on me like I talk too much. You're full of it.
So who thinks that Billy'd have more efficient listing appointments if Sarah talked less? Who thinks that Billy's probably the ultimate culprit? All right. Well, hey, let's get into some of these market stats that we learned over in Vegas. Yeah. And I want to get some numbers out, at least
I'm really
stuff
excited
for people to talk about.
That's cool.
Ponder. So I challenge when you guys go through some of this and we talk about it.
Yeah.
Reach out to us. Let us know if there's stuff that you want some more details on or more clarification, or like, hey, maybe I agree with this one or I disagree with this one. That's okay. Like this is national stats. In another episode, we're going to be talking about state level, and then we're going to localize it and get real granular with our backyard of what we're doing and how the market's doing. But it's amazing how there's a lot of consistencies across the board.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
for all of our numbers people, this is going to be fun. Yeah. Although some people, I get it. I don't even consider myself a crazy numbers person, but this stuff is super interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I think everybody can find good info in it. Well, guys, we're going to talk about stats and stuff in the next episode. Obviously, we talked too long, so we're going to make this its own episode. Do not point at me. It's about an 80-20 here, okay?
Sarah,
I'm only owning 20% of this conversation.
You need to take accountability for your actions.
I just did, 20%. You're ridiculous.
I'm guilty. I know it.
No, it's good stuff. But we're going to do, next week you're going to have an episode on the national market update with all the slides and all the stats. But if you have real estate needs in a sense of either you're thinking about selling, buying, investing, know somebody who is, or know somebody who's just like, I want to learn more about how do I buy? How do I sell? Billy is great just having conversations, no strings attached, genuinely here to educate.
Yep.
This isn't just about trying to find people to help them so that we can get a check. It's we genuinely want to help people, as this can be really complicated. So reach out to us. All of Billy's information is literally everywhere. I have I literally say his phone number in my sleep. No joke. So, we'll see you guys next week.
Cool. Thanks for watching.